Welcome, guys, to another Crypto Friday. I hope you guys have been having a great week. We've seen some action, we've seen some up and downs. So let's have a look what's going on in the market. So Smokey, Smiley, how have you guys been? How's the week?
Yeah, no, 100%. It's been an interesting week for sure in the markets. It's always good to see what and how it plays out. There's been a lot of news in that. So from our side, it's been good. Smiley, how you been?
Yeah, I'm good. Smokey, Stony. How's everything?
It's good, man. Good.
I think it's been
Let's have a
interesting. I think let's look at the news first of all. It's been interesting to see, the long-awaited Polygon Matic. They're going to bring out the 1559 that Ethereum has brought out, the London hard fork. So we can be expecting.
What is that? You broke away the Stony.
So we can be expecting Polygon's London hard fork to be going live next week. I think it's going to be having some interesting effects, and I think we're going to be seeing a lot of people going to the Matic platform. They have been, patching up some bugs. So it's been an active community. So I'm expecting a lot from this. Second thing I think we need to discuss, which everyone is aware of this week, is inflation. US is all-time high. So that's probably one of the main reasons we have seen a lot of people flock to the crypto space to try and get better returns, because cost of living is going to go up, and we can see a rough ride going ahead. I think if the US doesn't make a quick change. And then the last interesting thing I actually want to mention is Jack Dorsey that announced his Bitcoin Legal Defense Fund. Now, for those of you who don't really know, the crypto space is not only a very difficult space to start, getting funding in, but a lot of developers and very innovative developers are afraid to take the first leap because they look at the news, they see all the legal problems, they see all the legal lawsuits. So they're afraid to get their hands into the projects that will make the crypto space work. So what Jack Dorsey is essentially making is a fund to help these developers to say, this is an open source project, an open source fund for developers where they can tap into legal capabilities so that they can start these projects. And should they come into problems, they can tap into these kind of resources. And I think that's an amazing thing, which we'll probably see take effect from now on, and obviously helping a lot of users going forward. So that's it from my side. I think Smokes, let's go into the charts and have a look at what's Bitcoin been doing. It's been indecisive with it, wanting to go up or down. So drag me through. What have you guys been up to?
So let's have a look at the weekly chart, which is quite interesting to see. What we can see on this current candle here, this current candle formation here on the weekly chart, we can see a doji formation, which typically shows there's indecision in the market, and we can clearly see that there's indecision in the market if we look at what's happening in the news with regulations and everything going sort of surrounding crypto and where it's going. Like obviously we've had a rough couple of weeks in the crypto space trying to establish when is Bitcoin going up, and obviously that will then affect like the certain altcoins that we've seen. Now we've seen a lot of in the likes of Doge and Shiba Inu, crashing well below certain targets, but also recovering fairly quickly now. We've also mentioned last week that there's been a lot of buying from whales, 300 million plus, like just adding to these coins. And it's like, why? But obviously you've been watching the news on these two, and you've seen that there's quite a couple of interesting things there. So what do you see on those, apart from obviously the Bitcoin, indecision and that? But I mean, we've seen the spikes in those and Shiba Inu, but what's actually behind like Elon and all these guys? What are they planning? What are they doing? And why are they making these changes to these sort of community-based shitcoins that fluctuate up and down and just, takes everyone for a roller coaster?
I think it's interesting to note, as some of these coins develop and as the communities grow, the great thing about crypto is it's decentralization. So it's not about one person making a decision, as opposed to Elon Musk making the decisions for SpaceX and Tesla. In this regard, it's not really like that. It's a community approach. It's an organism making decisions on what should be the next step. So you have different communities having different visions, and that's what makes this a great thing. So you have certain communities that can learn from each other. And I think one of the things that you've seen is, like we discussed this week, is you could see Doge that was officially launched as a project which wasn't very, known for having any backing or any technology, and suddenly you start seeing that Elon Musk and Vitalik from Ethereum is behind the community, and you're trying to see maybe they're not actually trying to create something to beat Ethereum or to beat Bitcoin, but when you look at what they're trying to do is to perhaps create a currency. So we can expect more competitors competing against that kind of technology as you see Doge and Shiba Inu try and navigate new waters. I think there's a lot of people in the DApp space or in the stablecoin space, so a lot of people are trying to find their feet, what they're good at, and checking which community is more favorable right now. But it's interesting to see that, like I mentioned to you earlier today, what we can see in the news is that these upcoming projects that are using the new level 2 layers and the new protocols, regardless of what the bears are thinking of where Bitcoin and Ethereum should go, there's a lot of money coming into these alternative projects, and I mean a lot, and I think you can see it in the charts as well.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see the spike. We've seen the influx and the buying from obviously these big whales and institutions, but we haven't really seen any significant, movement in the market. Now, if we look at Bitcoin, just recapping like what we've said, we've seen this doji formation here on the weekly, which shows us a bit of indecision and reflecting obviously what the news is saying in terms of regulation. Now, what we can see from a structure point of view, which we've been saying the last couple of weeks, is we can see the overall move is still bullish. We haven't really broken out of this range, and we want to see, price sort of give us a clear indication. Now, we can see prices cool down and it's formed a bit of a correction, and we sort of in this range currently, trading around this, consolidation here that we see, and price seems to be holding up. And we saw a little bit of spikes in the week where we saw price break above the $43,500 that we've spoken about, but we haven't seen, apart from that, we haven't seen a nice solid, close above the 43. So we can see that this is the 44,500, and we can see the 43,500 around about there. So we didn't see a clear break above that just yet. We can still see on the current daily candle there is a bit of a push, to the upside, but we'll have to see what happens. I feel like if we are not going to break above this region by Monday, we could potentially see a continuation to the downside. So just want to look at the 4 hour and see if we can see any change in the market structure here. Now, what we can see, again, keeping in mind what we said on the weekly, we've seen that there's indecision in the market on the weekly. Now, we can see that, we formed a series of higher lows, but we've also formed a series of higher highs. Now, that typically would say that we are in an uptrend, reflecting the sort of overall structure on the weekly and aligning with that statement currently. So for me, I still see a bit bullishness in the market looking at the overall structure, but I really want to see a clear break above the 43,500 and then break above the previous levels to see a continuation to the upside. So we need to see this break in the next week. Hopefully we can see a break above the 43, followed by above the 44.5 before we see a continuation. But that we would need to see in the following week. If we do not see that break above this range here, then we can expect price to continue further down. So we need to look at it. Keeping in mind, we're also in the sort of midway through the month, and we can typically expect some form of correction during the course of this time period. Also looking at sort of relevant news building up to the 17th, which is Monday, we will start seeing a bit more, movement in the market. So we need to watch out for Monday and see, are we going to have a bearish day on Monday, or are we going to have some bullish movement over the weekend? So this will be quite crucial for me to have a look at this weekend and see what we are going to do with the current sort of pricing structure. We can see prices filling in pricing efficiencies, which is nice. So, but now that we've filled in some pricing efficiencies in these levels, we need to now see this sweep of liquidity here. We want to see a break above this key levels that we have here. So we need to be watching this closely and see what we can do. And again, I want to highlight, if we do break below the $40,000 level with a candle close, so essentially this level here, if we see, I know the line's a bit skewed, but if we see a candle body close above this with at least 50% of the body closing below the 40K level, then we can definitely expect a move to the downside. So let me just change this color so you guys can see. So if we see a daily candle close below the $40,000 level with at least 50% below this 40K level, we can definitely expect a continuation to the downside. So be mindful of that. Have a look at that. All depends on what we can see here in the market formation. We want to look at the higher time frames to give us clarity. So let's see. Like I said, if this does not break above this level, that shows us a failed new higher high, and that will signal a potential move to the downside. So look for this potential move to play out in the market.
It's going to be interesting to see, because you're looking at the news. The news is telling us that people are investing in crypto. They're believing more in crypto because they can see the technology growing and institutions are doing it more. But on the one hand side, we're sitting with this bubble that's also holding us a bit back. So it's going to be interesting to see whether we need to come a bit down before we go up, or if we're just going to go up from here.
No, look, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of buying happening still. I mean, institutions buy when we are selling. So when the market's down, they buy. And we typically, as retail traders, because of fear, we tend to sell out of our positions. Now, we'll have to see in the next week, in the next couple of days, will be crucial to see where we sort of end off and where we are going with this. But again, we need to have a look at it. So, Stoney, before I switch over to you, Smiley, do you have any feedback for us on the charts? What do you think? I know we've chatted about it briefly before the show, but what is your thoughts overall on Bitcoin and what are you seeing in the market?
All right. Thanks, Smokey and Stoney. Well, actually, checking from my own perspective, actually, I think what price exactly is doing is just we are just engineering liquidity, because checking from my end there, starting from the 4 hours time frame, what we can see exactly is just a mitigation of a demand zone. But checking beneath that demand zone, you can see a wick. You could see a candle wick there, right? So that candle wick, to me, I think that candle wick, to me, there are a lot of unfulfilled orders in that zone, which I think price might just come and fill, because actually, from my own perspective, I think to pick the right demand zone, I think a demand zone should be with an impulsive move. But the zone at which our price reacted from is not really a tangible, it's not really a rigid zone to me, because it's not even having the momentum. We just have the normal structural move. What I'm expecting from a support, let me use the word support. What I'm expecting from a support zone is just a quick movement from a quick movement upon mitigation of that zone. So right now, what I'm thinking, what I think price is exactly doing is just, doing a thing and trying to come down to tap into the 40,533 level, because that is where we have a lot of buy orders sitting down there. And from my perspective, checking again, you can see a lot of money beneath these zones. So why would Bitcoin want to go up when it still have a lot of money it can tap from beneath, and price is not even far from there. And the next zone, I think, where we have a lot of liquidity, where we have a lot of money, is just within the zone of that's within the zone of 44,580 to 46,804. 804. That is the next zone we have a lot of money sitting down above it. But to me, I think before we can have another push up, because even this demand zone is not going to be like, from the 4 hours perspective, actually it's not going to be strong enough to push price to that zone. So price needs to come down, grab a lot of money, then what, rally up. That is the net. I think even on mitigation of this week, on the mitigation of this candle week of 40,533, I think that zone should be more okay. Upon when price has already grabbed the money, then we should have a lot of pricing efficiency to carry price to the net zone where we have our next price. Because right now, to me, I'm still bearish on Bitcoin. Actually, I'm still bearish on Bitcoin. Even if we have even though we break the zone of 43,023, that might just be a liquidity grab. I'm waiting for price to come down beneath these discounted levels to grab a lot of money. Then we could as well just go up from there. So that's my own thinking, I think.
No, that's great, man. Look, obviously the market's definitely down from where we were a couple of weeks ago. I'm not contesting that. But we need to obviously look at the overall structure, and I do think we need to look at what price is telling us from a candle perspective, because once the candles is formed, it tells us the story of what the potential intent is. Now, I do think we are going to see a little bit more downside before the upside, but I definitely think overall, looking at the high time frames, we are still seeing a bit of a move to the upside until we see a break above the 40,000 level. Looking at the weekly and looking at the daily, just recently while you were talking, I can see the exact same formation and alignment of the weekly, the daily, and the 4 hour, which is a strong confirmation for me that we could see a move. Don't be surprised if we see a move up. We've had a bearish sort of start to the year. There's been a lot of positivity in the market. So we will have to see and wait for price to tell us. Let's have a look at the account. I know a lot of people have been waiting and asking about the account. So let's have a look at the account. Stoney, can you pull up the P&L for the account so we can just run down and have a look at what's happening there?
Cool. For some reason it doesn't want to bring up, but I'll have to do that. There we go. All right. So as we can see, the profit and profit loss analysis on the account is open. So I think, Smokes, what have you and Smiley been up to?
Let's have a look. I just want to see. Okay, there we go. So I just want to pull it up on my side. So looking at the account metrics, now keeping in mind, we've told you guys that, the market is not quite ready, has not shown us clear intent for a move up. Now, what me and Smiley has been doing is we've been testing the market with certain orders, and we've had a couple of losses during this course, as we can see on the daily P&L here at the bottom. From the 7th and the 8th, we had some small losses. Then on the 9th, we had started having a win, followed by a small loss on the 10th of this month, and then we've had quite a nice push upwards in the last couple of days. Now, keeping in mind the account was in a slight drawdown, couple of $100, but we've also managed to bring the account up into a profit, and we are now waiting for some new trades to play so that we can set up some trades and push up the profitability. Now, what we can see on the account is yesterday we made $442, and the last couple of days this week, which is essentially only the last 2 days, we made $710. It shows you a bit of, the market, how the market's been playing out for us. It's been up and down, and we've now started showing some consistency in the market. Now, we are definitely going to see how this plays out in the market and how the market is going to react in the next couple of days, so we can see how we can start growing the account. Also want to point out that our aim is not to see how quickly we can flip this account. We are wanting to show you guys how we make consistent gains on a daily basis so that you guys can learn and grow from this and not create, false expectations of what, is being put out there from certain, companies and what they show. So we want to show you a realistic expectation and show you how to grow your account sustainably. And that is what we are going to try and achieve, as we enter hopefully some bullish structure in the market, because keeping in mind we are trading a spot account, so we're only looking for long positions or buys, and in order for that to happen, we need to validate the setup around buying and selling. So without further ado, and without obviously going into too much detail, we will update you guys next week on the account and see where we are. We've started trading it now, and we are starting to get a balance between myself and Smile so that we can start looking at how we can grow this account. So it's going to be interesting. Smiles, I don't know if you have anything to add to that. I know you've been off this week as well. How do you feel about the account, and what do you think we should look at for this week for a couple of trades? There's been some good trades here and there, but what are you thinking, in terms of the market and plays? Are you gonna wait for Bitcoin to show you some clear structure before looking for potential setups, or what are your plans? What is your strategy going into this week?
Well, I must say it's a great changeover. Like, as we've said already, we incurred some losses on the account, but we managed to do it. We managed to recover back. That is the goal of every trader. Not that once you lost some certain amount of money on your account, you just give up like that. No, the goal of a trader is a consistent profit, and which we are going to attain and achieve. Well, right now, I think before we could say anything on the account, we need to know what exactly Bitcoin has been doing. Because if we can't have a lead, or let's say if we can't be above Bitcoin, we can't use the information we'll be getting from Bitcoin chart to trade or to use on other peers. So I think we need to know exactly what Bitcoin is doing. Then from there we could take off from there.
Yeah, look, I think the key thing is, especially in these markets where the market is down, it is quite tricky to trade and find those, great opportunities. But you can make money in a down market. You just need to be vigilant and make sure that you are objective in the market. But the other key thing is also the risk management. Know when to cut your losses. Know when to obviously pull out of the trades. So we need to have a look at that and see how we can do that, and then take it from there. But I think that's it for tonight's show. Let's not keep it too long. Thanks, guys, for joining us. And thanks for obviously all the effort. Smiley, I'm going to chat to you in the week. Let's see if we can maybe make something happen with the account. Tony, thanks for all the updates. Let's have a great evening, guys, and we'll see you next week.
Awesome. Cheers, guys. Enjoy the weekend.
Cheers, man. Cheers, guys.